Hello, and welcome to Strategic Speaking for Results weekly broadcast. I'm Elizabeth Bachman, your host. And today, I want to talk about listening. Now, my brand is Strategic Speaking for Results, which means I think about how do you present yourself a lot. But it's equally important to know how you listen. What kind of listener are you? And the advantages and perhaps some of the challenges about listening. We've all heard about tailoring your message to the needs of your audience. Rule number one, right? Using strategic empathy to put yourself in the shoes of your listeners. But also, how you listen and what your listening habits are can be really important. It comes from the way we are brought up. It's a huge role in how we listen. Some of us come from families where passionate argument is the way you talk, and the person with the loudest voice is the person who wins. And there's no hard feelings. It's just having the fun of arguing. Others are trained to be patient listeners, where we wait our turn to make a well-reasoned point. It's important to know which one you are, because when you're out in the workplace or in the world, and you're conversing with someone who's maybe on the opposite pole of the spectrum, your feelings from childhood can be triggered. People who prefer to listen and be reasonable can be railroaded by those who love to argue. And the fiery, argumentative people are fun up to a point, but they can also be perceived as too aggressive, especially if they're female. We talk about that a lot in some of the other broadcasts. So have you ever thought about your own listening style? Are you the kind of person who listens and only in order to plan how you're going to respond? That's a trap that's really easy to fall into, and you might miss the full message, or you might interrupt someone who is getting to the point and annoy them, and then they're not going to listen to you. Or maybe you're one of those people who connects and empathizes so much that you lose track of who you are because you identify so much with the other person. And that means you can miss the places where the other person might possibly be mistaken. In the business world, we see people who are eager to speak up all the time. They want to speak up to be heard. This is, yes, yes, me. But they tend to think that being assertive is the way to get promoted. But real communication happens when you actively listen to others, especially when they recognize that you're listening. Active listening means being fully present and giving the speaker your undivided attention. It means not just waiting for your turn to talk, but taking time to understand the other person's perspective. This shows respect and it builds rapport. This is particularly important if you are a new manager. Actively listening to your team and showing them that you care can make all the difference to your success. Empathy is another powerful aspect of listening. Again, it's about feeling what other people feel, putting yourself in their shoes. And it's a great way to connect with people on a different level. However, as I said earlier, there's a fine line between empathizing and losing your own identity in the process. We've all seen the people who waited carefully for their turn to talk, and nobody ever called them or asked them what their opinion was because someone else was talking too much. Some of you may have been that person. So learning how to speak up and speaking up for yourself is important. And as a team leader, always make sure that the quiet ones have a chance to speak, because chances are they have something useful to say. Basically, learning how to listen is the part about speaking that is implied, but not often stated. So I want to remind you, what kind of listener are you? This has been Strategic Speaking for Results. I'm Elizabeth Bachman. I'll see you on the next one.